3 liberos? What? Well, if you guys are looking for a tactic that makes absolutely no sense and is kind of just janky and bizarre but works wonders, you've got one here. A 3 libero tactic was requested ages ago by a commenter who I could not find the comment for. That is my bad. But we finally got it going, and after I got caught up at a holiday party during the week and was able to record, I've recorded this for you guys late at night on Saturday because I also was busy with another family gathering. So this one's for you guys. It is an awesome tactic that I'm super excited to share with you. And who doesn't love a wonky 3 libero tactic? Alright everyone, it's tactic time again, and that means it's time to chat and discuss how these tactics work. So, this is our 3 libero tactic. Now, this one is based heavily off of a similar idea for our bombing wingbacks tactic. It has similar elements and similar ideas. So, part of this idea came from my Evian save, where I was trying to figure out how to get better connection of the play, as I felt sometimes when we played in that system, there was too much of a disconnect in this middle area here. And we really struggled to gain possession well enough in this central area. I'm going to make this red. We sometimes had struggles connecting play here, because too often we were set into these kind of wide areas here more so and didn't have the connection. So I wanted to adjust that, and I thought this would be a catalyst for using a 3 libero tactic, where we could really use that to be hyper-aggressive in terms of controlling the space and attacking that space with the center backs pushing so aggressively high up the pitch. And that's what we have done with this system. So, if you guys have a basic understanding of things, pretty much what happens is this guy, he gets down the line here, he gets down the line here, he goes forwards here, he goes forwards here, he goes forwards here, he goes forwards like this. So pretty much they all go like that. And that's kind of the goal of that, to all run in those areas. Now, because of them all running in those areas, you need to provide the proper cover behind. And that's where these guys provide their roles. And that's kind of what the interesting part about this tactic is. Because in reality, a lot of the guys that I have here doing their jobs otherwise aren't doing anything too particularly fancy or particularly crazy. The wingback's job is to get down the line and get into an area here to cross, and that's about it. Their job is to get to these spots here and deal with crosses. These guys' jobs here are to get into the box and be options for crosses. Usually you want these guys to be more of the aerial cross whipped into this area here, or a low cross driven here, or more, if he can get to the line, cutbacks to here, here, or all the way across for a final tap in like that are kind of what you're looking to see. So that's what kind of their main jobs are. Now the 10s, sorry, not the 10s, the 8s usually will sit on the edge of the box like this, offering the ability to take shots from distance from these angles here and passing between them to allow to recycle possession. Now what happens here is, because we have the libero, he usually sits around here, and these guys are then going to push into these areas here. So one of the things we done by doing this is that we are hyper aggressive, meaning this team is pressing up into areas like this. We're leaving space in behind here, like this area here is being left open at times because we're playing so high and so aggressively up the pitch. And that's what kind of what we've done by doing so and doing this is we're almost locking the opposition in by pounding them with numbers in these central areas here, especially right here, where they're forced to come and deal with us, or what they have to do is cover these areas out wide, leaving us open spaces to score goals. And that's exactly what we've done. We've suffocated them, covering all their options, and making it really difficult for them to deal with us. So that's kind of what we want to see there. And also, when it comes to defending in this shape, one of the great things this team does is, when it does defend, is that it defends in a 5-4-1. So the wingbacks obviously will drop back in here. The DMs will be here. But also one of the things is these shadow strikers are encouraged to go wide. So they're going to go wide. They're going to drop into these areas here like this. Meaning we have a 5-4-1 in defense, which is really hard to break down. And on top of that, if we are defending a build out, one of the great things we do is that these front three are hyper aggressive. They will hound and press the opposition, meaning that our then bank of 7 people here is set up in these areas here, like so. These areas here looking to be this next block. So these guys are pressing aggressively, being boom, 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 forcing a ball either over the top into this area here, where then we can step into it and win the ball and then continue to counter against them. So it works really well in terms of us looking for those areas and aiming to do those things like that. So that's kind of the key things there that we want to see. Now, I think we'll just give you that's the obvious overview. We'll go now into just some quick descriptions of how the build-up works, how the main defensive counter-pressing structure works, as well as the defending deep, and that's where we will call it for today. I've had lots going on in the holiday season, so I'm not able to make a longer form video, but we're going to make a bit of a shorter form one today for the sake of this. So in terms of what we're looking forward to doing here when it comes to build out, we're getting it out to one of these 3 defenders. The guys on the sides here are going to be looking to play more direct passes. So they're going to be looking to go more so into the space ahead of them, like this, or like this, to get more advanced here. As much as I do want them to play short, I don't want them to be playing this pass and this pass a lot. I don't want them to be playing the lateral passes. I want them to be looking to be playing forward, being more aggressive with these passes into those areas. And also the fact that this guy's going to get forward, so he's already going to be moving up the pitch, meaning you want to be more direct with it. We just want them to play forward. We don't want them to dilly-dally in the back. We want them to be aggressive, looking to counter quickly and using that forward thinking to our advantage. On top of that, they're also not encouraged to dribble much. They'll look to get it, maybe move a little bit, and then boom, play it off. The central defender, though, is encouraged to dribble forwards, but he is also encouraged to give these longer style passes and much more direct ball, so he goes more into the 10 or the 9 instead. There is what we're looking for from him. And then once that happens, it will then be left to the volantes, who will carry the ball forwards, dribble it up the pitch, or the shadow strikers, who will do the same. Or if we do get it wide into these areas here, the complete wingback, who will carry it forwards himself. And that's kind of in terms of the initial play and the passing of what we're looking for there. Now, in terms of the final third here, obviously we did already talk about the shape slightly, but to give you guys a little more detail and understanding of how it works and show you with some things in terms of some better examples of the AI. So you can see this here. Now, in terms of the defending, they'll obviously have the goalkeeper in the box. So the idea is that they'll probably have their players in like this. And because of this, what's going to happen is, say the ball's on this side here. They're probably going to press out like this, covering our players like this, meaning there's space on the opposite side for if the ball goes out. Top of that, they're probably going to have their people covering us on the edge of the box. It's probably going to be like this, meaning and this guy's possibly going to be dropped back or whatever like that, and he'll be covering here. So it'll probably be like this. They'll either cover everyone, or this guy will be higher up the pitch, meaning this guy will probably be covering here, and they'll be more zonally marking, meaning that we have a better opportunity to get the ball into the box here and do something with it. Because if we beat him or something like that, now we're in space here, we can get this cross off into one of these guys who's going to do something with it. But this is pretty much the attacking shape that we're looking for, with the ball being driven into this area, or lofted into that area for then the chance to score off those. And that's pretty much that. On top of it as well, if these guys are defending deeper here and looking to set deep, the ball can then be played here where he has the opportunity to shoot or lay it off to another player who then can shoot at goal as well. And that's mostly what we want to see from the attacking third. Nothing too crazy in terms of that. It's not really too insane in terms of what we're looking for. And then finally, when it comes to the rest of the team, things such as defending, in essence, what we've done with this, which is quite interesting, is so at times with the Evian save, when the team was defending in these kind of more deeper areas here, which I will drag us back to. We're not going to worry about the opposition right now. What was happening, which is why in the instructions we have players closing down but not tackling as much, was that we were getting caught out by people playing out of position and getting hurt. So these center backs here are all less, so these guys here will not be diving in as much. They'll be closing down and marking tighter, so they'll be getting tight to their man, touch tight, getting aggressive, but they're not gonna dive in. These guys, very similar thing. What they're gonna do is that sometimes what I found when the opposition had the ball over here, and if he was beat, everyone shifted over like this. They'd all shift over a lot, and this guy would then tuck in heavily, meaning that if they just switched the ball from this area to over here, there's a man open every time, and he's able to score. So what I've told our players is to close down less on the outside. So these wingbacks aren't going to close down as much. They're going to hold their defensive width. And then what happens is if, say, this guy runs through this zone here, he's going to pick him up and they'll run together, being stuck together running, and then he'll just track with him instead of it being press, and dive in and get hurt because of it. On top of that, these guys are going to, if there's anyone that runs through their zone in the middle, so they're one of their players, R8 will then track their 8 as well, which will be really useful to be someone tracking any second or third man runs. Finally, because of this bank, these guys are going to be the aggressors. They're going to look to force issues with the press. So I'll show you just quickly. Please excuse the horrible number mess up that this has created. Say they're looking to build out, right? Because these guys are pressing high, we have the ability here to force them to have to bypass these guys, meaning that we've now forced them, all right, cool, they've bypassed 3 guys, but now they still have another 7 to get through. Meaning he can go for this ball like this, which is risky, or he can play it short, where then we have numbers automatically stepping up, and then this guy can step up here and step up here like this, and then we can win the ball back and continue to counter and press up against them. This was seen quite well in terms of the game information, where we see that with the main areas that the ball was heavily won back was in kind of this chunk of space here. Was kind of that chunk where you had most control in terms of winning the ball back, because the opposition was unable to get out of these areas. As we would clip the ball, we'd force them with the aggressive press to get the ball into this area, where then the rest of our team would be aggressive, stop them from getting through with the bodies and numbers we had on our team. And it was super, super successful, and I was really happy with that. So, with that all being said, that's the quick little summary of how we play. I think it's time now to get into the actual nitty-gritty of how these teams did with this test and what came from it. Okay guys, so since we've now gone through the tactical analysis of the setup, it's time to talk how the test went. And I'd say it went really, really well. As you can see, Brentford finished 3rd. We'll go through a little bit of how they did, but if we just look at a quick overview, the 4th best attack, the 6th best defense, Bryan Mbeumo picking up 24 goals, Rico Henry 19 assists, and Flecken doing the best pass rating, and Rico Henry being kind of the key man for this team. Now, I'm really impressed heavily by the team. If we do look at this, they were expected 0.7, so they did overachieve with the tactic, but again, we don't mind the overachievement. But I think the big thing to mainly talk about first, we'll go competitions, is they did win the FA Cup, and they made the semi-finals of the Carabao Cup. So it just goes to show you how well they did play. Now, they only lost 8 games, which is, they're tied for the 2nd least amount. They only drew here, they're the 3rd most wins, and they only drew 8 games as well, which is pretty damn good. I mean, they're not the greatest goal difference, but still very, very impressive from this Bees team. And I really have to say, it's quite amazing how well they actually ended up doing. If we do look at this here, we can just see the best goal scorers in Mbeumo, Shada, and Damsgaard all getting the goals, which is kind of what I did talk about, as we do want to see these three guys mainly getting in the position to score a lot of the goals, as these guys are more so the kind of positions that take up the spots here, 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 and here, while these three are in the box. Obviously, we did talk about this before, but just kind of because of that, you're going to see these three being the main goal scorers, and we can see that proven right here with that system of these three probably playing those roles a lot, and them being in those positions. I mean, we can see what Shada played. He played, yeah, a mix of those two roles, Damsgaard, exactly, and Mbeumo, exactly. See, that's what I'm talking about, those three roles right there, picking up a lot of the goals. And then I think Vanna, yep, Janelt, and Lewis Potter being up there as well, but yeah, we can start seeing these guys, but then without getting into the assists. But now if we look at the assists, here we go, Henry picking up 19 from the left wing back position, Godos, I think, on the right wing back, oh, actually the 10, picking them up as well, Damsgaard, and then Janelt from center mid, yeah. You can kind of see what I'm talking about in terms of the goals and the assists are coming from where we talked about they would be earlier on in the video, which is not surprising, but just kind of what you guys would come to expect from this. Now, we do take a quick look at the, just do that. I don't know why it keeps glitching out like that. We just take a quick look at this. We do see our shape. So obviously we have the, oops, sorry, this is not ours. We have the central striker right here, which is what we're looking for. We have the two wide liberos being the base of the diamond, and then we have the volante and the shadow striker. Normally we want them a little higher up. The volantes are in the right spot, but the shadow striker should be a little higher up, and the same with the striker to create more of a diamond here. So that guy should be a little up here. So you have triangle here, but you can see somewhat of the shape that was created and intended. I want this center libero to be a little more into this space here, but you can still kind of get the idea of that we do get from this. Kind of see that arced shape, but we want a little more of a funnel, which should have been created because of the press. So we want that press to be these guys pressing, being aggressive, creating those funnel shapes in those areas to do some damage. But yeah, we can see that here. We can even take a look at a bit of the heat map as well, and we can see, you can see clearly the heat map showing really the way it's set up. Them mainly showing towards the left here, which I'm assuming is mostly because the team tend to heavily favor Rico Henry this season. But it's also not needed that much possession. If we do look here, didn't have loads of possession, but it made the chances count with the 11 shots, 4 on target, the higher XG, 1 clear-cut chance, lower possession, but it makes a difference in terms of that. So you guys can see that, obviously we looked at that before. But yeah, that's just the Henry being favored, but still you can see he a lot here, and then the heavier bits out wide, which is what we want to see, and they had lots of the heat map, but look how deep they were. They couldn't get through so much deep possession for these guys, which is good to see, so it shows you defensively how it worked as well, being that higher line. Now, I'm really pleased with Brentford. I think they did exceptionally well, and it's time to talk about Leverkusen, who finished second in the league, doing really, really well. We do look here, the best defense in the league, the third best attack, Hložek getting 16, Grimaldo being the best, so the left wing back position being really good. One annoying thing that did happen is, obviously when it comes to these tactic tests, I have a system set up with a manager who just turns down every single offer and doesn't buy anyone, but the board sold Frimpong without me doing anything, so the team kind of fell off. Like, if you look here, they were amazing to start the year. Like, they were just unstoppable. They didn't lose a game until December. And it generally is really annoying because they were doing so well, and then all of a sudden they just lost Frimpong, and it definitely hurt them because you can see them start not doing as well. But they still did really, really well. I mean, look, doing good in Europa League and in DFB not as much, but still very, very good job from them. And to finish in second is still really, really impressive for this team. We can look here, Grimaldo picking up the most assists, as well as next Hoffman playing in that 10 role. And then Wirtz, who probably played as the 10, I'm assuming. Yeah. When we look at the goals, though, Hložek, who played up top. Where's Boniface? Boniface isn't rated that highly, apparently. Huh. But Hložek, who I guess rated a little higher, played the striking role, and the 10 got those goals. Wirtz, yep. And Schick as well, what a surprise. Yeah, so again, the main goals coming from those guys playing in those key roles. Tapsoba getting a good amount of goals, probably playing in that, yeah, that libero role, probably taking a few shots from distance on top of that. So pretty clear that they do match kind of what we talked about and showed. If we see last match as well, we can talk a little about that. We can see again the closeness of these guys. This is a little better here. some of these shapes, but I don't love how far overtap Soba is. But again, each game is going to vary slightly based off where things happen. But yeah, no, it worked quite well, and you can kind of see that shape again. But you can also see the shots as well as the key passes coming from those areas we talked about, and the heavy reliance on the left side. Not too surprising. Now, Ajax were incredible in this one. They dropped points only 3 times all season, picking up 95 total points. They had the best attack in the league, scoring 105 goals. They had the second best defense, surprisingly. The team went on to win the Europa League. They did lose in the 8th final of this, which I think is like the quarters, maybe. A little earlier on. Round 16 they lost in. But they did the double, winning the league and the Europa League with this tactic. The team did just amazingly well. We do look at last match. We can see a little bit better of what I was talking about. Milan were in those ugly-ass pink jerseys. Annoyingly, I mean, obviously, this is where the wing-back is. It's kind of very lopsided. This is the side that really shows exactly how I want it set up. This side is not very well done, but you can see on the right here. Also, you can see they played heavily more down the right and the center, which is good to see. But the wing-back here, the libero here, the why the hell is Akpom? Those two you want flipped. You want those two flipped, but it's given us pretty much the shape. That's the shape we're looking for. I don't mind the rotations being there, but that's the exact shape we look for. We have that perfect triangle there, the 2 triangles inside of it, the triangle here with these guys, triangle here with him, the triangle here with these guys, triangle here with these guys, triangle here with them. You can just see all of the ones that are created. There's tons and tons of options. You can even see a passing staircase, which is created right here, which is quite nice to see as well. So there's a lot of good to show from that. I'm really happy with that as well. And yeah, I really have to say just exceptional from all these guys. You look at the top scores, again, it's those front grouping of players. Ones in that front 3 doing a lot. One of the things I also want to talk about is Borna Sosa got 31 assists. 31 at the wingback role, which is mental. He got 31. But yeah, so the wingback's getting the most assists. I don't know how to say Guy getting most of them. And then Sosa, but obviously the 10 getting some as well. So those guys getting the most assists, the guys that score the most being that front 3. So it really matches up to what we're talking about. You can see just the test showing exactly what we're saying, what we wanted to show. And it's great to see, and I'm really always happy to see that. So on to the tactic now of how it actually does work. It is a 3-4-2-1 custom slate tactic. We first start with the sweeper keeper on defend in goal, which is take fewer risks and tackle harder. So we want him to be aggressive, but we don't want him to play too many risky passes here. For the 1 libero, he kind of works as like a mix of libero and a wide center back, but we want him to have more direct passing, so he plays it into these guys more and skips the short pass, so that then we can get the ball quicker up the field. I don't want them to pass too much around the back, because these guys are going to get forward like this. These guys are going to get forward like this, and sometimes they can kind of be left a little isolated, so we want the ball to go quicker forwards. Stay wider, obviously, since, you know, there's going to be people going forwards. We want them to close down more, ease off tackles, and mark tighter. We want them to close the players down, but not get caught out, since they're going to be one of the last lines of defense, but we want them to be tight to them, so the other players, they can slow the other players down and let help come back. The opposite side of libero, same exact thing. For these two, the middle libero's role is more direct passes, dribble more, ease off tackles, and mark tighter. Because there's more people in the middle, we don't have to worry about him pressing as much, but if someone runs into his zone, we want him to mark them more tightly and just track the runner. We also want him, when he gets the ball, to take it and dribble up the field more and help carry, compared to these guys who we want to pass it more often. Now to the complete wing back on support, which is on the right and left wing back roles. Same exact instructions. We want cross more often, close down less, tackle harder, and mark tighter. I found that when I was playing with this tactic with my Evian save, not this exact one, but a similar one, there was times where you'd see the wingback set up like all the way in over here, and there's acres and acres of space out here for the opposition to attack into. So instead of having them sit over here, because we've done this and we have close down less, tackle harder, and mark tighter, what they're going to do is they're going to sit much wider, so they'll occupy that space much wider. If there's a player there, they'll mark them and track them, but they won't get pulled out of position by, say, these guys all shifting over, so they're all over here. He won't then tuck into this space. He'll still stay wide and help defend. In the middle, we have two volantes on support. They're the two DMs, both with the instructions move into channels and mark tighter. Again, we want them to track any incoming runners coming through the lines, which is what they're going to do. And we want them to move into the channels, so they move into these areas here when we attack, as the Shadow Strikers are encouraged to stay wider. So they want them to get wider, offer more support, offer those triangles that we're looking for with those guys. We want them to close down more and tackle harder. This is because we want to be aggressive with these front three, force the opposition to play a ball forward or have the players make runs, because there's going to be a space. They're going to be able to get openings here because there is a gap. But if we can close them down to be super aggressive, we can force them backwards or force a long ball, which allows us to then defend it a lot better. So they are on the same exact instructions: stay wider, close them more, and tackle harder. And finally, our striker is on dribble more, shoot more often, and tackle harder. This is because if he gets the ball into any of these areas here, we want him to take the shot. And obviously in transition, he's going to be our furthest player forward, because when we defend, these guys will drop deeper and defend. In my mind, when the team defends, it doesn't always work, but you do kind of, because they are stay wider, you do get them dropping out here like this, and you almost get a 5-4-1 in defense, which is what we're looking for. It's not always there, but you do get it occasionally, which is nice to see. So that's why we also want this guy to dribble more, as sometimes when we are defending in those shapes, we then look to counter, and then he will take it and dribble forwards. Finally, in the positive mentality, as I mentioned, and then also in possession, we have a fairly wide attacking width. We play out of defense, have a shorter passing directness, have a much higher tempo, low crosses, and running at the defense. In terms of transition, we counter press, and then we counter. We distribute to the center backs and roll it out. If you do want to go more attacking, I do suggest moving this to attacking, going to distribute quickly, and making these 4 players here into attackers. You can also just first go these guys and then these guys. You can also even make these guys become attacking, more aggressive on support libero as well, but I do recommend going with these 4 players onto attack first if you do want to be more aggressive. Finally, high press line of engagement, a higher defensive line, much more often on the press, prevent short distribution, and get stuck in. Again, we want to encourage them to play over this front 3, which is going to be very aggressive, and then into our block of players. On top of that, as I said, also, if you do want to go more attacking, you can push this higher up as well and be able to be much more aggressive in games. So that is the 3-4-2-1 triple libero tactic. Hope you guys have enjoyed that one and are looking forward to using it, because there's a lot of fun I think this can have, and you get to really utilize the ability of great ball playing and aggressive defenders, a lot more of that kind of new hybrid style of them, which I know is a lot of fun, and I can definitely think of some that would suit the roles quite well. Thank you everyone for watching another amazing tactic video. I hope you guys did enjoy our 3-4-2-1 libero system. Obviously, triple libero is kind of crazy, and not everyone always expects one to work, but I'm really excited we did get one to work, and work so well indeed. I do know that also this is definitely not the most common tactic, and I really do suggest finding higher level teams to use this with, as 3 liberos is going to be quite difficult to use for a lot of teams. So it's definitely a higher level tactic for sure, but it's a fun one, and one that I think will bring you guys a lot of fun and success. I know I've actually gotten some success out of a hybrid version in my Thought on Evian save, which I do suggest checking out if you want to see variants of this tactic being used, as we are in the 3rd division of France, and it's been quite good for us. So feel free to check that out and see how that works. But besides that, be sure to check out our other tactics videos, and remember to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any future tactics coming out. We have some festive themed ones as well, thanks to our community challenge, Santa Survival, as well as a Christmas tree tactic to suit everyone's festive holiday season with this lovely holiday coming up. So thank you again for watching, everyone. I wish everyone a wonderful and fantastic happy holiday season. Hope you guys have some incredible presents, get some awesome things, and maybe even get FM in there so you guys can start playing and use some of my fantastic tactics.